And thanks for everybody for having me. And I want to talk about a bunch of different things about the real estate market that's happened lately and how you can adjust and make a lot more money. Especially, how many people in here are wholesalers? A lot of wholesalers, cool. So this is really going to help you if you don't do it, and I'm going to show you how to do this. So let's talk about how I buy so many properties. So over the last few years, I have been buying about 30 properties a month, like in 2020, 21, 22. Every single month I'm buying 30 properties. Most of them, like I'd say about half of them I'm fix and flipping. The other half, just doing like some really minor stuff and maybe selling it to a hedge fund, maybe selling it to another investor to finish it. Some areas I don't like to work in, so like I'll still buy them if I think it's a good deal, and then I'll just find somebody else to do it. But one of the ways that I buy stuff is with creative financing. So up until like about a year ago, almost 80–90% of the deals I would buy were cash deals. And that's basically what everybody is used to doing, right? As a wholesaler, you're going to buy a deal, you're gonna lock it up, and you're probably gonna lock it up at 60–70% of what it's worth, and then wholesale it and make $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, if you get lucky, a whole lot more. So over the last, I would say, 6 to 8 months, the market's gotten a lot tougher for people to lock up deals. And just to put in perspective, I was buying literally over 300 homes a year, and so 30 homes a month. Over the last, I would say, 6 or 8 months, I've been buying about 15 a month. So I'm buying about half. And it's not because I don't want to buy more, it's because there's just not enough good deals out there like there used to be. So I know, and I've talked to like tons of wholesalers that I bought a lot of things from, a lot of properties from over the years. Some of them are still in the game, and some of them have dropped out and now have regular jobs because they're like, I just can't get deals. So I have a lot of people come to my office, and wholesalers, and I teach them how to make money if you can't lock up deals at a good price. So the way I still tell everybody to do this is to go in there and try to buy cash deals, like offer a cash deal to where you can wholesale it the way you know how to do it. If for some reason you can't get the deal done, either because the person wants too much for it, maybe they owe too much on it so they can't sell it for less, that's where I flip it and go from a cash deal to a creative deal. So just so everybody knows, I don't start off trying to buy creative deals from people. I always start off trying to buy cash deals, making them cash offers, and then if that cash offer doesn't work, instead of having a dead deal that you can't use and no one's going to make money on, I flip that to a creative deal. And if instead of making $10,000 or $15,000 assignment fee on a cash deal, you could still make $10,000, $15,000 or more, just like on a cash deal, you could do the same thing on a creative deal. So a lot of people don't realize it, but you can make the same amount of money on a creative deal than you can on a cash deal. If a lot of people are in like different Facebook groups here in Atlanta, and you see all the different times, whether you're in like just a regular local Facebook group, or maybe you're in Astro Flipping or Sub 2 or Brent Daniels or somebody else's course, you'll see people all the time say, who has no equity deals? Who has dead deals? Who has dead deals? Why would people want to have dead deals? Like if you don't know how to do creative financing, you're like, why do these people want dead deals? Like, I can't do anything with them. How can they do anything with them? So what they're doing is they're doing creative deals with them, and they're making money on it. So there are like dozens and dozens of people I know that all they do are they buy creative deals that are dead deals, totally dead, like 80, 90, 100% of what it's worth. Like they pay full price and they're still making a $10,000 plus assignment fee on them. So that's what I'm going to show you how to do, right? Does anyone care how to do that, like on dead deals, how other people do it? All right, cool. So I just bought a property that I just closed on yesterday in Lithonia that I paid 100% full price for from another wholesaler. The wholesaler made $8,000 on the assignment fee, but I paid full price. Like literally 20 other people tried to buy this deal and they couldn't because the reason why that he had to pay full price is not because the seller wanted too much, it's because the person just owed too much on it. They bought it at the wrong time, they had to sell it, and they literally bought it in the last year, and they just are in it for too high because the market dropped. So how can I buy something for full price? Why would someone buy something for full price? It makes no sense. So let me just tell you what you do with it, and then we'll go back to how to negotiate them, how to get them, and how to know if it's a good deal. So if you're buying something for full price, people that are buying it because they already have a loan on it, right? They don't have to come up with their own money to buy it. There's already a mortgage on it, or if there's not a mortgage on it, it's an owner finance, right? So there's a few different types of creative deals. One is called a subject to, if you haven't heard of it. Subject to is when you buy a property with liens or mortgages already on the property, and you're buying it subject to those loans staying on the property. Like you don't have to pay them off at closing, right? On a normal cash deal, you have to pay off every single loan. On a subject to, you're buying it subject to those loans and liens staying on the property. So a lot of people have really, really good rates over the last few years. Like, I mean, I bought deals at 2% interest rates, 2.5, 3, 4, whatever, great interest rates. Now they're double that or more. So I would love to buy deals that have these really low interest rates. So a lot of these deals I'm paying like full value for, 90%, 95%, 80, whatever. I'm buying them because I'm buying the interest rate. I'm buying the interest rate. And there's a lot of things I can do with that. So first off, a lot of them have really good PITIs, which is the principal, interest, taxes, insurance. And a lot of them have really good rates. So a lot of them I'm buying maybe has a $1,200 PITI and I can rent it for $2,000. So maybe I'm paying full price for the property, but I'm able to make, you know, $800. And I'm not really making $800 because there's some cost involved, right? I have like some repairs, some vacancy, but I figure there's about 20% worth of cost. So like if I'm renting something for $2,000, maybe I'm losing like $400 a month between maintenance, repairs, vacancy, all that stuff. But still, I'm renting for $2,000, I'm getting $1,600. I'm buying it at full price, but I have a $1,200 mortgage. So as you see, I'm making $400 a month in cash flow on that property. And on top of that, I'm paying the property down every single month, right? So on that PITI, the P is the principal. So every month I'm paying 100 or 200 or whatever, 300 toward that principal. So on top of the $400 cash flow, I'm also making an extra few $100 toward equity on that property. On top of that, I get to depreciate every one of these properties every single year. So if anybody here, does anyone here pay taxes every year? Nobody pays taxes? All right, cool. But if you pay taxes, right, and you have properties, rental properties, or properties that you keep long-term, you know, your accountant or whoever, your CPA or whoever does your books at the end of the year, you tell them, look, I have all these properties I bought, and then they could depreciate it. So literally, a lot of the people that are the wealthiest people pay very little taxes, and it's because they own so much property and they get to depreciate it and they don't really have to pay taxes. I remember when Donald Trump was running for office the last time, people were like, oh, look at his taxes, he doesn't pay taxes, he doesn't pay taxes. But guess what? He probably doesn't pay much taxes, but you know why? He makes a lot of money, he owns so much real estate that he gets to depreciate that legally he doesn't have to pay taxes. So that's basically what all the richest people do, and that's what you should do. There's no reason for you to pay taxes if you own properties or, you know, you could buy properties. So that's the reason why you could pay really high for a property, is because it cash flows and because you get to depreciate it, and you're also building equity every single month with the principal pay down. So the first thing you got to do when you look at a property is, if you're buying it, so again, try to buy it as a cash deal, because everybody knows how to do that. It's easy. You could buy it, you could flip it, whatever. If it's a dead deal, now you flip it to, all right, you talk to the seller, you're like, well, what if I could pay you what you want? Can you do terms? You know, are you interested in, you know, hearing that out? So then that's kind of, people don't understand what terms are, and I kind of explain it to them, and I usually tell a story that kind of, you know, makes it understand. Like the story that Pace tells everyone is about his truck that he tried to sell for, I don't even remember the exact numbers, but let's just say he was trying to sell for $5,000, but nobody wanted to pay $5,000 for this truck. And then all of a sudden he listed it in Auto Trader and he put it for $7,000, but he said, you know what, I'll take owner finance, or I'll do terms on it. And he literally had like dozens of people that wanted it. Why? Because he's like, you know what, instead of paying $5,000 cash, give me, you know, $1,000 up front and pay me, you know, $400 a month until it's paid off, but you're giving me an extra $2,000 for it. So that's why you could pay more. That's why people could pay more. So the reason why this person was able to buy his truck is because this person was a worker and he needed to get to work. He needed to haul stuff around, and he, you know, and on his job he's making, you know, $1,500 a week. So he's making $6,000 a month, and he needs a truck. So if he's paying $400 a month for a truck, maybe the truck isn't worth that much. Maybe he's paying $2,000 more, but who cares? He's making, you know, profit every single month on that truck. So you figure it the same way on a property, and that's kind of like the story that Pace will tell people when he's explaining it to a seller. Because one of the first few things that sellers are going to say, well, how can you pay me more than everybody else? Why are you paying more? And you explain it, look, because I'm going to make money on it. Like I'm a real estate investor. You know, I have a lot of different ways to make money on a property, and we can go through all these different ways. I don't know how much time we have today, and I want to take a lot of questions and stuff. But like, besides renting it, there's a million other ways to sell, you know, to get rid of or dispel a property. You know, obviously on a cash deal, you fix and flip it, but on a creative deal, you could rent it, you could lease purchase it, you could wrap it. Wrapping it is just buying it on an owner finance or a subject to, and then now reselling it to another person on an owner finance. And what you can do is, you could make a lot of money doing that. So if, for instance, let's say I'm paying full price even for a house, okay? Let's say the house is worth $100,000. And I'm paying $100,000 for it, but they have like a 3% interest on that property. I could take that $100,000 home, and I do this all the time in Atlanta. I could show you all kinds of addresses I do this with. I could take that home and now sell it for $110,000 to $120,000 to somebody that basically can't qualify for a loan. Maybe they, don't have a regular job. Maybe they work for themselves, and they just don't qualify. A lot of waitresses, a lot of waiters, a lot of strippers, drug dealers for sure. They don't claim how much money they make, right? So these are perfect people. So there's plenty of people out there that have like extra cash, but they just don't have the credit to buy a home. So they are willing to pay more than the home is worth, right? I'm able to pay, like I really don't pay 100%, but I'm giving an example. Like if I was to pay 100%, almost all the homes that I wrap, which is basically owner financing to somebody else when I already have. So what a wrap means is that there's more than one mortgage on the property. So I'm buying it from a seller on an owner finance or a subject to where there's already a mortgage, and I'm now selling it to somebody else on another mortgage. So I am paying the bank that has the original mortgage 3%, and I'm charging them 8%, So that's how we're making money. So a wrap means there's two mortgages, two people that have mortgages on the same property, and they're two separate mortgages. So that's a wrap. So a wrap is selling it on an owner finance to a second person after you already bought it on a creative deal. And the rule of thumb is in Atlanta that you can get somewhere between 10, 15% over what the home is worth when you sell it on an owner finance to somebody. And there's certain areas I do really well in that there's a big need for it. And on top of the fact that I'm getting like 10 to 15% more than it's worth, I'm in this property for 3%, I'm selling it, most of the ones I sell, I'm doing like 8%. So I'm actually making money on the front end. So this is how people make money. I'm going to give you some examples, right? So let's just say I want to buy this property. Let's use easy numbers. $100,000 house. I want to buy this for $70,000 cash because I need to pay 70% or maybe less. But let's just say I'm paying 70%. I'm paying $70,000 cash. This person's like, no, I need $90,000 for this house. That's the lowest I'm going to sell it for. It's a dead deal for everybody in here that's a wholesaler that doesn't know creative finance because you can't sell it to anybody else. I mean, even if you sold it for full price, you're still going to lose, holding costs and realtor fees. You're going to lose that 10%. So it's a break even, and that's if it needs no rehab. But when you're wrapping it, what you can do is you could pay the person $90,000. Let's say they have. I'm just gonna give you an example. Let's say they have an $80,000 mortgage on it, and so if they have an $80,000 mortgage on it, that's why they couldn't sell it for $70,000, by the way, because they owe more than you could pay. But what you can do is you can negotiate it down to where you pay $85,000 and just give them $5,000, or let's just say you pay them $90,000 in this example. So basically, what we'll do is we'll take over the mortgage. We'll start making the mortgage payments. We're gonna give them their equity, $10,000. So we're gonna pay them at close $10,000. I'm gonna get even more high level to where a lot of times you don't even have to pay them the $10,000. You could have them owner finance at $10,000. But in this circumstance, let's just say we're paying them all their equity, $10,000. So now I own this home that has a 3% mortgage. I'm paying $800 a month, and I have $10,000 of my own cash into it. Now I find someone, and there's different ways to advertise, and I could tell you about all that later, but that's a whole nother thing. But I'm gonna wrap it, and what I put in there is, look, I know it's worth $100,000. I want 10% more, so I'm gonna list it for $110,000, but owner finance. I just paid $90 for it. Now I'm selling it for $110. And obviously, if I paid $90, I have room to negotiate now. Even at $110, I could sell for full price, $100 if I need to, right? But the key is I'm going to make a lot of money on the front end, and I'm going to make a lot of money every single month, more than even on a rental. So here's how. I'm going to sell it for $110. I'm going to ask for 15% down. It's pretty easy to get 10% down from people. It's sometimes okay, you can even get 20%. I've sold a bunch of wraps with 20%. I've sold a bunch with 15. But at 10%, they go pretty fast, right? I always try to get more, but 10% I know that they'll pretty much sell. So I always ask 15 to 20, depending on how much. If I have like a lot into it, then I'll ask closer to 20, and I usually have to negotiate down. But I try to ask 15 because at that point, like either they'll buy it or they'll talk me down a little bit, and I can still do it. But let's just say someone pays me 15%. I'm selling for $110. Okay, what's 15% of 110? It's like 16,000 bucks. Well, how much did I put into it? 10,000. Now I'm getting 16 when I sold it, and I'm selling it fast, within a month usually, right? So how much money did I just make on that deal? I just made $6,000. But that's not even the best part about it, right? So I just made $6,000 on a deal that nobody would have been able to buy, right? But that's not the best part. The best part is I am now selling to them at 8%. And 8% isn't even that bad right now. Like if you go get a mortgage, it's 7. So 8% is really not that much higher on owner finance. And I'm not charging them points. I'm not charging them, you know, origination fees, appraisal fees, all this shit. So it's actually a pretty good deal. And my monthly payments are $800 at 3%. Their monthly payments are $1,400 a month to me at 8%. That's every percent you charge more is a huge difference. So I am charging them. So I'm making $600 a month. And guess what? There's no vacancy and repairs on this. On a wrap, there's no vacancy and repairs. They own the house. I'm just the lender. I don't have to fix anything, right? You don't call the bank, a mortgage company, oh, something broke. I'm just their mortgage company. I'm their bank. So I make $600, and I'm making that $600 every single month. There's nothing that could change that. If they don't pay me, I could foreclose on the property and take the property back. But I try to get enough down payment, like 15%, 20%, but 10% the worst case, and I try to have them, you know, have some money in it to where they don't want to get foreclosed on and lose all their money. But on a $100,000 home, 10% might be too little because $10,000 people might eventually, you know, but like if most homes that I'm wrapping are like $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 homes. Definitely $300,000, $400,000. People have $50,000 tied into it. They don't want to lose it, right? So that means a lot to them. So I very rarely have a problem where people don't pay. And a really big trick on wrapping is I used to like just put it out there and try to wrap to anybody. And what I've noticed is that the most success I have are wrapping to Hispanic people. Hispanic people are the best by far. Like they literally give you the least amount of problems. They pretty much agreeable with everything. They don't try to like talk you down the whole lot. You know, they're easy on repairs. They're really, really easy to deal with. And what I've noticed is over the years, and I have a couple hundred rentals, all the Hispanic people I rent to and all the Hispanic people I wrap to are the ones I really have almost no problems with. But like the white people, the black people, the Indian people, the Asian people, it doesn't matter who the fuck it is. If you're not Hispanic, I have a lot of problems. I have a lot of problems with all those people, right? It doesn't matter. So now I literally focus on wrapping just to Hispanic people. So all my ads are in Spanish. Everything's in Spanish. And I pretty much almost 90% of the wraps I do right now are to Hispanic people. So like if you are buying homes in a Hispanic area, those are gonna go fast. Like those are gonna go fast if you wanna wrap it. So if you're not in a really predominant Hispanic area, those are the ones that are gonna take a little bit longer to sell and they're a little bit harder because the other people are just more of a pain in the ass to deal with. So that's kind of like a rundown of you know, what you can do. So wrapping is one. Again, lease purchasing is another. You could do Airbnbs. You could do rooming homes. Like in Atlanta, there's a company called Pad Split. Pad Split is started in Atlanta. Now they're kind of branching out to other cities. And I used to do this stuff way before Pad Split existed. But I used to do rooming homes. So a rooming home is where I basically rented rooms by the month to people and just by the room. So I would take a house, hopefully, you know, I would take one that's out of a neighborhood, and I would take one that has a bunch of extra rooms. So I turn the living room, the dining room, the basement, the garage, I turn them all into bedrooms. And my average rooming home has like 10 rooms that people could sleep in. There might have been a 4-bedroom home, but they have 10 bedrooms after I rehab it and add walls and do stuff. And I rent these rooms out by the month. I furnish them. And I've been doing this for like 20 years. And I basically get right now like $800 and some a room on average, and they usually have close to 10 rooms and they stay full. Like I have a waiting list on I have like 9 rooming homes right now in Atlanta. Most of them are in Stone Mountain or Lawrenceville, but like they stay full and I have waiting lists. And very rarely do I have more than one vacancy at a time. So that's a very good exit strategy. Now all these exit strategies work because I have a really good mortgage in place and I bought this property using a creative finance deal. Like I don't want to buy a property for cash and do a wrap. I don't want to, you know, buy a property for cash and do a rooming home because I have so much money into it. And especially now, if I want to refinance it and pull my money out and do all this burr stuff, which is really hard to do because you still have a lot of money tied up and the interest rates are so high, the interest rates really hurt your exit strategy. So you can do all these different exit strategies I'm talking about if you buy these deals creatively. And if you ever see ads, like I said, everyone has seen them if you're on a bunch of groups. Send me your dead deals, send me your dead deals. Like, let me work your dead deals, we'll split it, whatever. This is what these people do. They call your dead leads and how much do you want for it? Okay, you want 90? I know everybody's offering you 70. I know it's worth 100. I could pay you 90 if you're open to terms. And then they explain the whole terms thing, they negotiate the deal, and now they sell it to somebody else that is going to keep it as a long-term rental, keep it and lease purchase it, keep it as a rooming home, keep it as an Airbnb, keep it and wrap it to somebody else. And it's a very valuable thing, right? A lot of people, there's a lot of buy and hold investors out there that will buy cash deals from you, right? And they're paying pretty high. Those are the people that pay the most, the buy and hold investors, because they don't have all these fees when they sell it. They don't have realtor fees. They don't have all this cost, so they could pay the most, buy and hold investors. Now think about your buy and hold investors that you've ever sold to. If you could sell them a deal where 90% of the money of the loan is already in place at a fucking great interest rate, how much easier it is to sell those properties to your buy and hold investors, because all they want to do is buy and hold it anyway. And now they have an incredible interest rate. They don't have to get their own loan. So it just makes it very easy. Most people should know a bunch of buy and hold investors if you've been wholesaling for a while. If not, you could figure them out by seeing who owns a bunch of properties. And these are the perfect people to target to sell these types of deals to. So again, I could talk about this type of stuff and go on for days, but I kind of want to get to some questions, and I could go back and talk about more stuff. But that's kind of an idea of what creative finance could do for you and how you could make money as a wholesaler by doing creative finance. Now, one of the most important things that you do need to know when you're doing a creative finance deal is that the first thing you got to figure out is how much the PITI is, because that's pretty much what's going to make it a good or bad deal for whoever you're selling it to. The PITI, again, is a principal, interest, taxes, insurance. The other thing you got to know, if it's an HOA, add the HOA on top of that, right? So as long as you could have a PITI that is a certain amount higher than, a certain amount lower than what your rent's gonna be, or whatever it is. A lot of people wanna do Airbnbs and they'll make more money. A lot of people wanna do pad splits, they'll make more money. But try to figure it out just as a regular rental. If the regular rent is $1,800 and your PITI is $1,200, then that's gonna be a good deal to do a creative deal on, and you'll be able to sell that to somebody that wants to keep it as a buy and hold. So always look at the PITI compared to the rent. If there's a good spread, that's a good deal, even if somebody wants almost full price. Now, I don't want to pay full price. Don't ever pay full price. I'm just, in theory, you could if it cash flows, but again, it's not like super smart to do it. You want to have equity in it, but instead of having 30-40% equity on a cash deal, you could technically really do it with 10%, 15%. I mean, if you get 20% equity in a creative deal, that's unbelievable, because you already have the mortgage in place at a really good interest rate. So those are kind of the key points to this. And I'm sure a lot of people have questions. We could dive into it more, and then if we run out of questions and I have time, I could get into even more into this stuff.
When you were first starting with creative finance, how were you finding your leads and stuff?
So the question is, when I was first starting with creative finance, how did I find my leads? So again, every single deal that I try to negotiate or my team tries to negotiate is always a cash deal. It's just like any other wholesale deal. I always start off with a cash deal. And then what happens is the cash deal doesn't work. And what happens is at that point is I have to turn it into a creative deal, or else it's a dead deal. So that's how all my creative deals happen. They're literally cash deals that don't work. And then on top of that, I go around, and a lot of my team are some of those people I'm talking about that post on all these different Facebook groups. Anyone have any dead leads? Anyone have any dead deals? Send them to me. If I can make a deal, I'll give you $1,000 or whatever. It's better than nothing, right? Why not send everyone all your dead deals? If they can do anything with it, who cares? They're dead. You're not going to do anything with it. So I have teams that will take everyone's dead deals and try to make them work. And if they work, I'll give the person that gave us that lead $1,000. Now, if that person actually negotiates a deal, gets the deal, and sells it to me, whatever the assignment fee they want, that makes sense. It could be $5,000, $10,000. I've paid $50,000 assignment fees on creative deals. So if you lock it up cheap enough and you lock it up at a good enough interest, if you get a 0% interest, that deal's worth a lot more. If you're locking up a deal and you're paying the seller no money up front, or 1% or 2%, 3% up front, you could probably get a huge assignment fee, because there's room to charge people and have them pay 10, 12, 15% up front, and there's a lot of room. So I mean, it's crazy how many deals that I've bought for zero down and 0% interest, a lot. And they're out there. So the two things I didn't explain, the difference between a seller finance deal and a subject to deal. A subject to deal is when there's a mortgage or a lien on the property and you're taking it over subject to that staying in place, right? So that means that they have a mortgage on it. When you're buying something on an owner finance, there's no mortgage in place, there's there's no liens. It's owned free and clear. So if usually when I'm buying an owner finance property, the reason why I'm buying it as owner finance is because they just want way more than it's worth. That's basically what it is. There's no way to make money on this deal as a cash deal because I can't fix and flip it. So they own it free and clear. They just want a certain amount of money for it. A lot of these people don't want all the money up front. So on an owner finance deal, if someone says owner finance, just know the person that you're buying it from has no mortgage and they own it free and clear. If you're buying it on a subject to, it means that there's a mortgage in place or a bunch of liens in place or whatever it is. We can get into liens too. Liens are really, really good on properties. I love liens. Like, I've made more money on liens being on properties when I buy it than anything. We could talk about that. And then there's another thing called a hybrid. And a hybrid is basically where there is a mortgage on the property. So you're buying it and you're taking it over subject to, but the owner has a lot of equity probably in the property, right? Maybe they have a $200,000 mortgage, but the property is worth $400,000. So they have a $200,000 mortgage, but now you have to pay them $200,000 to buy it. That's 50%. That's like too much. Like, that makes it a bad creative deal. A good creative deal is a deal that you could get into for under 10% entry fee, right? If you could get into it for less than 10% of what it's worth, it's pretty much a good deal. You could also have a good deal that's 12%, 15%, maybe even up to 20% sometimes, depending on the rest of the deal. But anything under 10% is good. So if somebody will sell it to you on a subject to, but they're like, look, I have $200,000 equity, I want you to pay me for that, it just makes it not a good creative deal anymore. Now that's more of a cash deal. So what you do is you're like, fine, I'll take over your mortgage, $200,000 subject to, and now out of your $200,000 equity, I need you to give me a $180,000 loan and I'll give you $20,000 up front. So that's a hybrid. A hybrid means that there's owner finance and subject to on the same property. And then there's a few other types of creative deals. Another one that you'll hear every so often is called a novation. A novation is basically, and that's become more popular lately. There's a lot of actually wholesalers that are using this. But let's just say somebody wants $100,000 for their property and you only want to pay them, let's say 90. So you're like 10,000 off. Like, you're somewhat close, but you're somewhat off and you can't buy it. So a lot of the reason why you need to buy it for 90 is because after you buy it, you're going to have to get a hard money loan. You're going to have closing costs. You're going to have all these different things, appraisals, and it's going to cost you a bunch of money. And then every single month, you're going to have to pay, $1,000 or $2,000 in your interest every single month. So if you're fixing and flipping a property, and it's going to take you 5-6 months to finish it, if you could buy the property and you need to buy the property for $90,000 because of all those costs, can you pay $100,000? Can you pay an extra $10,000 if you're not going to have any cost on it? Like, you don't have to get a hard money lender. You don't have to pay points. You're saving the $10,000 in cost because the owner is giving you the property on a novation. So what a novation is they're telling you, fine, look, I will sell you the property for $100,000, and I'll buy the property from you $100,000, more than I want to pay. But this is the deal. The deal is I'm not going to have to pay you any of the money until I sell the property. So that's what it's basically deferring the amount of money that you promised to give them until the end when you actually sell it and get your money. So on this particular case, maybe it's a 6-month deal, and if I had to borrow $100,000, I'm paying $3,000 up front, maybe another $1,000 a month, and appraisal costs on. So 6 months, that's $6,000. $3,000 up front, that's $9,000. Then the closing costs and appraisals and all this stuff, you're at over $10,000. So you're technically getting it at what you want to get it for by paying an extra $10,000 because you don't have to pay the hard money lenders, you don't have to pay the attorneys, because as soon as you sell it, it's actually getting sold from the buyer that you found right to the seller. There's not like a double closing. It goes right there. And on the paperwork, it'll just show that you get whatever the difference is, right? So if you have to give them $100,000, they'll get the first $100,000, and then you get the rest. So that's a novation. There's a lot of people that are wholesalers and realtors that are locking up properties, and all they're doing is throwing it right in the MLS, and they're not even doing any work to it, and then they're just locking it up at a certain price and selling it. But that's a novation because they don't have to pay the person until it sells. So that's another way people. Innovations were originally created to not have to pay hard money and not have to do double closings and all these other different things, so you're saving money, but you're going to do the rehab, and after you do the rehab, you're going to sell it. But now people are using it without even doing any rehab. They're just putting it under contract, putting it on MLS, and doing it that way. There's a bunch of other creative finance things you can do. Those are the most common. So I hope that answers the question as far as how I get those. And of course, other wholesalers that are really good at creative finance, right? Anyone that has been around me, that has been around anyone in Pace Morby's group, anyone in other groups that do that, know how to do it. And anyone that comes to a lot of these meetups, they'll learn a little bit more every time. They'll ask questions. And another way to learn a lot is by doing deals with people that are really good at it, right? Let's just say, so Ingrid is really, really good at creative financing. And if you partner with her and sell her a deal, she's going to walk you through it. And you're going to, she probably has even done deals with people where they're partners, and she walks them through it. So if you're don't know much about it, come to these groups, but also partner with people that are good at it, and then also find wholesalers that are selling some of these properties that you could buy, and you'll learn a little bit every single time, because every time you buy one, they're going to have to use paperwork to do this all. And you might not have any of this creative finance paperwork. And as soon as you do one deal with someone, now you're going to have it because they used it when they did your deal. And like some of the paperwork I have is like, I can't give out because I'm like, it's in a group and I was promised not to give it out. But if someone does a deal with me, I give it to them because we're partners, so we do it together. So that's how you get in, that's how you learn. So those are the ways that you get a lot of more creative deals. By the way, Ingrid is only here for a day. She came in for today. She lives in Phoenix, Arizona, and she happened to be here for her W-2, and she.
I changed my flight just for you.
She was supposed to fly back tonight. She's like, I'm gonna stay tonight. I didn't know there was an event. So.
Yeah. Another approach that's become really popular is calling agents call them on their aging listings. A lot of what people are saying is calling them out on like a 90-day. I sneak up on like day 60, just so that I could start introducing myself before other people start calling them, because they will get called for these creative deals. Because you have a motivated seller, right? They actually signed a listing to sell, and now you have a motivated agent because they want to get paid.
And they're very motivated because it's been on the market for 90 days plus, and they're not selling it. It's not worth that much. It's not worth that much as a cash deal.
Yeah.
But as a creative deal, it could.
In their DMs at day 65.
Yeah. So me and Ingrid have a few friends. Kevin's one of them. That's how they make all their money. They do 10 plus deals every single month, just buying expired listings or listings that are about to expire, and they buy them on creative deals for 90% of what they're worth, sometimes 100%, literally. And they're selling them to people that are going to do one of these exit strategies, whether it's wrapping it, a pad split or whatever it is. That's how they do it. And they're making, $5,000, $10,000 a whack, but doing 10 plus every single month. And that's how they do it, agent outreach, and just finding deals that nobody else wants. So
legitimate free too. There's no.
And here's the thing. You know why these properties aren't selling? It's not because, like from Kevin and a lot of people, it's not because the people want too much money for it. It's because they owe that much money on it. They can't sell it for less. They'd have to come to the closing table with money to sell their property. So there's no way for them to sell it. So they either have to let it go in foreclosure, keep the house, or there's not really many options, or find someone that knows how to do a creative deal and let them buy it. So there's a lot of money, and there's a lot of people that specialize in that, and it's just open your eyes to what's possible. There's a lot more stuff possible. Like we'll get into whatever questions you have, we'll get into it, and step in if you because that's really important what you just said. Expired listings is another really good way to get creative deals. Or some people search. In the beginning I saw he showed you how to skip trace. How he skip traced a bunch of stuff. You could skip trace. You could pull lists. You could pull lists for people that have no equity. You could pull lists for people that are pre-foreclosure. You could pull lists for all these different things, and you could target creative deals and just target like this guy Kevin. He doesn't do what everybody else does. Like 99% of people, they go after cash deals, and when they're shitty cash deals or they're dead cash deals, we turn them into creative deals. He actually goes after shitty deals that and just goes after creative deals because he knows he's going to make 5-10 grand. The good thing about these that's really important to understand is when you're buying these deals that people have no equity in, how much money are you paying the seller to take their property? Sometimes zero. Sometimes a few $1,000s. So like you could buy these $300,000 properties for $5,000 down. So now if I go wrap it for 30 or 40 down, I just made $35,000 on the front end. And then who knows how much every single month on the difference of interest rate. So there's a lot of money to be made paying really close to full price if you have a very low down payment. And on people that have no equity in their property, they don't have a better option. They're going to have to sell it to you. So just keep that in mind. Yeah. I get to you next. Okay.
Could you go?
Oh, go ahead. You're first.
Could you go a little bit more into the rooming strategy that you mentioned? How you sort of decide, how you screen, your formulas.
Okay. So one of my exit strategies is called a rooming home, and if anybody doesn't know what that is, there's actually Atlanta was the first city in the country that has a big company that actually does it for you. So everyone knows what Airbnb is. There's a company that does exactly what Airbnb does for short-term rentals for rooming homes. It's called PadSplit, P-A-D-S-P-L-I-T, padsplit.com. They started in Atlanta. They're all over Atlanta. Now they just started, they're probably in a dozen other cities across the country. But I'm going to explain it to you, but also go on that website. They're going to explain to you on that website how it works. But I'll tell you how I do it. So what I do is I get a home, and the best homes to get are homes that are not in neighborhoods that have HOAs. Like I don't go out and they don't have neighbors that are super close. The ones that have the most parking is important. Unless you're like on a MARTA line. If you're on a MARTA line, you could actually get tons of people that live there that don't even have cars, which is great. But if you're like more in the suburbs here, there's no MARTA, you're gonna probably need to get a lot of parking. Have parking either, behind the house, the side of the house, or maybe on the yard, and not be too suspicious. So you can't be in like neighborhoods so much, right? But I find the right homes, and what I do is I turn every single room in the home into a bedroom. So the only shared space in these homes, I have like a little kitchen area, and then I have bathrooms, and that's it. Like every other space in the whole house is a room someone's living in. The dining room is a bedroom. The living room is a bedroom. If it's a split level, the downstairs, the basements, my garages are bedrooms. Usually two bedrooms in a garage. Or if it's a carport, that's a bedroom. I close it in, and that's a bed. But my average rooming home has 10 rooms that I could rent out. And I have some that have 13. That's my biggest one. I think my smallest one is maybe 8 or 9. But you can put a lot of rooms in a home if there's no shared space. And you don't want shared space because you don't want people hanging out. Now, I do furnish them all, just like Airbnb. I don't furnish them as nice as I would like an Airbnb. So like you could you don't have to be as nice as the Airbnb type, but basically I furnish it and then I pay you all the utilities. So I have 9 of them, and the way I work mine, everyone does something different, but I actually have, because I have so many, I have one person in each home that lives there. That's kind of like the manager, They live there, maybe they were there the longest, maybe I see they're the most reliable, and I make them the manager. And I either give them 80% off, maybe a free room, maybe 50% off, depending on what type. All the rooms I have are different prices, The master is going to be $1,200 a month, The other rooms might be $800 or $900 or $700. The bigger rooms are more. The smaller rooms, I have small rooms, I have big rooms. I'm going to price it based on how big the room is. But I put furniture in every single room, and I just rent them by the room. I advertise them in Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace, and literally I have waiting lists all the time for people to get in. So, but I do it myself, and then I have one like district manager that's in charge of all nine houses, right? So each house has a manager, and then it's usually like discounted rent is what they get, and then plus they feel good. They're like, oh yeah, I'm in charge of this place. I'm the boss. So it also gives them some, makes them feel good. But then I have one person that's in charge of them all. So the person that's in charge of them all goes to every manager every month or every couple weeks and collects all the money. And that's basically how it does. And the way PadSplit does it is they do all that for you. PadSplit, you go onto the PadSplit website, and if anybody in here needs to rent a room because you need somewhere to live, or someone that needs a room, go into PadSplit. Like they have rooms, you could search Cobb County, Gwinnett, Rockdale, Atlanta, wherever, and there's plenty of rooms for rent. And the cool thing about even PadSplit is their numbers are very similar to mine. Like they keep a 95% occupancy. Like they have very little vacancies. Like when they have, you won't see like a house that has a whole bunch of rooms, unless it's like a brand new home they just put on the market that like everyone. So that's a really, really good advantage of a pad split as opposed to like a rent or Airbnb. Like if you have a rental and someone doesn't pay, you're like fucked. Like you got no money coming in, like zero. And if you have to kick them out, you could be, fuck. If you're in like DeKalb, Clayton, or Fulton, you're fucked. Like 6-9 months it's gonna take you. Now if you're here in Woodstock or in Cobb County or Gwinnett, you kick them out in a couple months. But if you're in in like the Democrat like cities or shit, like sometimes they'll stay there for a year without paying. You're fucked, and you got no money coming in, right? It's bullshit, but that's what it is. So with pad split, you have 10 tenants. Let's say you have 1 or 2 that don't pay. You still have 8 people paying. You're always gonna make money. Like you really need like 5 people to pay to break even. 5 people, maybe 6, half, 50 to 60% of people need to pay. You're never gonna have less than 5 or 6 people pay. It's just never gonna happen. I've been doing it for 20 years, I've never had that, The other really, really good thing, so I mean, you have money coming in no matter what. Airbnb, you don't have a booking for like a few weeks, you're losing money, Pad split, you're never gonna lose money because you always have some amount of people. You ever hear about diversifying? Don't put all your money into this business or that, or don't put all your money into stocks, don't put all your money into Bitcoin, don't put all your money into, the same thing. And pad split, you're diversified like crazy because you have 10 people renting from you, so you're gonna have money for most of them, even if there's a couple shitty ones, right?
They're all men though, right?
So here's the thing with pad split, they basically, I don't think they let you like determine if they can't say, look, this is only for guys, this is only for girls. But what I could tell you is that the person that owns the home has to approve the person before they go in. So like whoever owns the home could say, look, I don't want that person, or I don't want that person. So in theory, they could not pick certain people. All the rooming homes I have are all males. The reason why I do that is because, first of all, I've always had more males that wanted rooms, and I don't mind having all female rooming homes, but I like years ago, like 10, 15 years ago, I used to have rooming homes that had half, guys and girls, and there was just so many problems, like with guys and girls sharing bathrooms, and there was so much drama and problems that like you have to go in there and like be like the judge and break people up and all kinds of stuff and stuff like that. So it was just really weird. And with pad splits and with my rooming homes, you're not allowed to have guests, stay overnight, you're not allowed to, it's basically to live. It's not like, that's why there's no shared space, besides the kitchen and bathroom. That's it. The ideal thing is to have one bathroom for every 4 bedrooms. That's like the ideal thing. Pad split pretty much makes you have 1 bathroom for every four bedrooms. I for the most part have 1 bathroom for every 4 bedrooms. There's maybe 2 of the houses maybe don't. Like I might have 9 rooms and 2 bathrooms or something, or maybe even 10 rooms and 2 bathrooms. It's okay, but it's 4 bedrooms for 1 bathroom is ideal. Yeah.
Hey Brad, so going back to the subject to conversation, one of the biggest obstacles that wholesalers have or investors have is explaining to the...
Yes, I'm happy you said that. I want to talk about that.
How, the subject to.
Yeah.
And what's the easiest way to convey that to then get them to agree to a subject to or a self-finance?
Yeah. All right, so this is like the fucking best question. I'm happy somebody asked that. All right, so...
And real quick, so I know Austin, you had a question. You guys had a question, so I'll kind of monitor the questions just so we can make sure we get all the knowledge that Abraham has. So after mine, after you answer that for a few minutes, we'll go to Austin, and then who else had a question?
Nader.
It was the exact same question.
Okay, all right, so we'll kind of monitor that. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's probably the best question anyone could ask when you're talking about subject to, because that is literally what comes up all the time. Well, I try to do it, and the seller's like, well, what happens if you don't pay? How am I protected? Or what happens if, I want to go get another mortgage, and now there's a mortgage in my name? What happens? What happens if, why are you buying this property where no one else could? Like, it seems fishy. Like, what are you going to do with the property? So these are all the types of questions. So I actually I brought a bunch of papers, remember? So I made a list of like the top 24 questions, like top 24 questions that people will ask and how to answer them. So I'm going to pass them out. I made like a dozen copies, but I'm going to go through the top 2 or 3 and go through it. But I made here. So there's a bunch of pages for each one. So you probably, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there are 5 pages each, so that's one copy. But here's the thing, anybody,
5 pages, right?
yeah, so just go 5 pages, this is something else, but yeah, take those, yeah. The first, every 5 pages. So
Talk about adding balance. Can we put our hands together for this guy, man?
Yeah. So by the way, if anybody didn't know me before today, make sure you hit me up on Facebook. Make sure we're friends on Facebook. I'll give you my email address. If you want these, like I think I only brought like maybe 10 or 12. So not everyone's gonna get one, but I will email everybody one. If you just send me a message, if you just email me and say, look, I want the form, I will email it to you. So just my email address, if you want it, it's Abraham, ABRAHAM like that, and then and then MMA like mixed martial arts, and then ATL like Atlanta.com. So Abraham at MMAATL.com. That's my email address. If you just say, look, I want the Q&As for subject 2s, how to deal with the sellers, I'll give it to you. So, but let's just go through. Save me one copy for now, just so I make sure I ask the most important questions.
Abraham, you should have, this is an easier answer.
Yeah.
Have them squat up with your crew and they'll close the form.
Yeah, my crew is so busy that sometimes they might not have time, but like I could definitely, if you need help closing deals, I have people in my office that can help you, but a lot of them are busy sometimes. I know like dozen other people that are really good at it in town that I could refer you to as well. So, you know, close the deals, I'll buy every deal, yeah.
What's your email again?
It's Abraham, and then at MMA, like mixed martial arts. I actually own a bunch of gyms, martial arts gyms, so it's Abraham at MMA, and then ATL like Atlanta.com. 6 letters.
You're in the Metro Atlanta REI group on Facebook. We can put the PDF.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. You can put it on there.
And we'll put it on there for you guys.
Yeah, I'll email you. And then make sure everyone follows me on YouTube. That's my name, Abraham Gray. I started YouTube 10 months ago, and all I do is I post videos on stuff like this, is how to make money in business, how to make money in real estate, how to negotiate with sellers, just talk about creative finance, I talk about just anything to do with making money, how to better your life, how to build rapport, how to, all that stuff, how to cheat. I'm big into cheating. I am. I made it like last month. I cheated my way to $100 million. That's the video. But it's true. Like cheating is important. So I talk about that, but really everything. You know, I talk about cursing. I talk about why cursing is so important. So, but yeah, I curse a lot. I didn't curse that much today, but usually I curse a lot more. So, but yeah, I just talk about all kinds of stuff that's going to help you in life. So yeah, just subscribe to the Abraham Gray. Watch the videos more importantly, and I make 2 new videos every single week for the last 10 months. So, all right, so let's get back to this question really fast. So, the most common question is going to be, well, what happens if I sell this to you and you do not make the mortgage payment? Like you don't make the mortgage payments, because now this is what happens when you do a subject to, right? There's 2 different things that I got to talk about so you understand why these questions are going to come up. There's something called assuming a loan, and there's something called taking a loan over subject to. They're 2 separate things. So when you assume a loan, you are actually getting they're actually putting it on your credit, you're getting a new loan with the bank, and you're assuming it, now everything's in your name. We don't do that. Like that, most loans aren't really assumable, and it's just a pain in the ass. At that point, you have to pay closing costs again, everything else. It's just not as fun, and it goes on your credit. What we're talking about is taking over subject to. Taking over subject to, the credit and everything stays in the person's name who had it in the first place. So everyone has to understand, we'll take a step back, that every single time somebody owns a property, if they have a mortgage on it, there's 2 things on a mortgage. There's a deed. The deed shows who owns the property, and then there's a mortgage. The mortgage shows who owes money on the property and whose credit it's on and that, right? So they're 2 separate things. You could buy a property from somebody, and when you buy it on a subject to, you get the deed, right? So if you look on the county courthouse, it'll show that Mr. Jane just sold Abraham the house. Now Abraham's the new owner. So if you look at who owns the house, who is on the deed, it's going to be Abraham on a subject to. If you look to see who owes money on it and whose credit it's in, that's on the mortgage. That's totally separate, and that will be the person that got it originally that you bought it from. So you don't have, the deed and the mortgage are two separate things. They don't go together. You could take the ownership of the house and keep the mortgage still in the other person's name. They're two separate things. It happens all the time, especially with divorces. People, a husband might have it in their name, the wife might get the house, and that's the most common way, but with subject twos, that's how it works. So that brings me back to the question. Well, what happens, look, the mortgage is staying in my name. What happens if I sell you this house and now you don't make payments? That's going to hurt my credit, right? Because it's in my name still. And 100%, it is going to hurt their name. So that's a legitimate question. That's probably the most commonly asked question. And so this is the way I answer it. I say, well, first off, first of all, I always, by the way, anytime somebody asks me a question, I always tell them that's a great question. That's why I tell you it's a great question. If it's a good question, whether the question is good or not, I'm going to say, dude, that's the fucking best question. I always say that. So, yeah, your question wasn't that good, but I just wanted to, but anyway, so that's the first thing I'm always going to say. I'm going to say, man, that's a great question. First of all, you got to build rapport with people and make them like you. So any single time you agree with someone, any single time you compliment them, complimenting someone is how you're going to get someone to like you. So if somebody asks you a question, no matter how dumb it is, you just tell them how good it is, and now they oh man, this guy just complimented me. I like him a lot more, right? So no problem. I probably shouldn't have said that now. I should have waited till you're out, but whatever. But anyway.
I love your flip-flops.
Yeah, my flip-flops. All right, so again, that's a great question. And you know what? I would have been disappointed if you didn't ask that question, because I would have been like, maybe you're not so smart, but you're really smart because you asked that question, right? So again, complimenting them, right? But I say, look, first off, I'm buying this home from you for $300,000. I'm giving you $20,000 up front. On top of that, as soon as I buy this property, I'm going to spend another $20,000 in rehab. I'm going to have $40,000 in this property, or whatever the numbers are. You think that I'm not going to make payments and let you take over that property? If I don't make payments, you're going to get that property back. Every single money that I paid you, you're going to keep. All the money I put in the rehab, I lost. You're going to get the benefit of it. The best thing that could happen to you is if I don't pay the mortgage and you get the property back. If I don't pay it, you're going to get the property back. And if I get more into it, I'll explain to them how. But then I go into, look, I have, for me, this is what I say. I say, look, I have a couple hundred properties I bought like this. I could give you different addresses. I could let you talk to some of the people I bought it from over the last year, 5 years, 10 years, whatever. And by the way, no one ever calls, anyone ever asks. And let's just say you haven't bought any of these. You could still say that, because this is what you could say. You could say, look, me and my partner have bought over 100 of these properties over the last 10 plus years, and I'm happy to be your partner. You know what I mean? So I'm happy to give you addresses that I bought this week, last month, 5 years ago. I'll give you as many addresses as you want. I can give you homeowners, but you basically, make you seem like legitimate, that you've done this a lot, and that it's a safe bet. But you push them to where, look, I'm paying you all this money up front. I'm going to lose. I'm putting all this money into it. This is my business. I have done this plenty of times. I've never let a home, go back. But if I did, and the worst case scenario is, then you get the house back. And then they're like, well, that'll still hurt my credit, right? I'm like, well, look, if I don't pay for like the next month, or if I'm ever 30 or 60 days behind, or whatever you want to say, look, you're going to get the house back. And the credit bureaus don't even report it for typically 90 days. And by that point, you could catch the house up, you could resell it to somebody else. It's going to be worth more, because every single month, and on top of the fact that I gave you $20,000 up front, on top of the fact that I put $20,000 into it, it's going to appreciate over time, right? That's what properties do. And at that point, I might have owned the property for a year, 2 years, 3 years. I paid down the principal, another $5,000 or another whatever. So you're going to have so much equity in that property. The best thing that could happen to you is that I don't pay you. I would never let that happen, because that'd be dumb as shit for me. That's kind of like what I say. Again, then sometimes they'll come back and say something, and I say something back. But there's a million different ways that can go in directions. But I could always answer it. No matter what they say. And it shows me that they understand it a little bit, or they're going to understand it a little bit, and they're going to trust me, because I'm going to answer these with like, man, I'm going to be so confident. That's the most important thing. No matter whether you know what you're talking about or not, answer those questions like so confidently that like no matter what the fuck you say, they're going to believe you. So I'm very confident because I know what I'm talking about. But if somebody asks me a question ever and I don't know what I'm talking about, I could give you an answer so confidently you're going to believe me. Like, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but like you'll believe me, I promise. So so you just got to be confident when you give the answers. But honestly, you want to give everyone the right answers. I don't ever want to give somebody the wrong answer. But if you're not 100% sure, give them what you think, but say it confidently, right? And you could always tell people, look, my partner handles that part of it. Let me get with them and I'll get back to you because that's a great question that hasn't come up before or something, whatever. That's fine to say that as well. So next, yeah.
Do you use a servicer for your sub-Ts?
Yeah, so I use a servicing company. So a servicing company is someone that, for anyone who doesn't know, is someone that will, instead of me making the mortgage payments every month, I basically pay a company to draft the money out of my account, and they will pay the mortgage company directly. So a lot of people use a servicing company. I would say, depending on what your exit strategy is how important a servicing company is. I don't use a servicing company for anything. So all the homes that I buy, I have pretty much on auto pay, and they just pay every single month. And the owner finance ones, same thing. Everything's on auto pay, or I have someone in my office that will. Certain people need like a wire. Certain people want, a Zelle or whatever it is, depending on the deal. I have it set up to where it happens, or someone in my office could do it. So I don't use a service company, but a servicing company comes more into play and is more important if you're wrapping the property. If you're wrapping the property, I would say that's probably the most important time to potentially get a servicing company, because if you're just renting it, you get a property manager, right? You put it on auto pay and your property manager pays you. If you're doing an Airbnb is going to pay you. If you do, whatever, on a wrap, now you're selling it to another person, and that person has to pay you every single month. So the servicing company could actually take the money from that person and use that person's money to pay the mortgage. And then, sometimes you don't have to collect money if they're late or this or that, and there's a way around it. So I don't use it, but I know a lot of people that do. Do you use servicing companies for anything?
I do, but I'd rather not.
Yeah.
That's another cost.
It's very cheap, but it's still like another cost.
It's like $20.
Yeah, it's like 20 some dollars a month, but it's just so easy to put on auto pay for me, so I do it. There's sometimes, so some of the people that, some of the answers that people give to this question, what happens if you don't pay me? One of the answers could be, well, I'm definitely going to pay you. I have a servicing company that's going to pay you every single month. But I don't use that answer because I don't use a servicing company. I am going to pay them every month. But some people might use a servicing company, and that could be an answer. It'd be like, look, well, I have this company called, whatever star servicing company, and they're going to pay you every single month. They take it on my account, so that they're going to directly pay you, so you don't have to worry about it. But that could be another answer if you use a servicing company. But I think that most of the people that I know that use servicing companies don't really care to use them unless they have wraps, because it's a pain in the ass sometimes to get the money from the person unless they're Hispanic. If they're Hispanic, they pay you, I swear, they pay you every time. They pay you, they're worried, oh, did I pay you enough? Did I pay you enough? Like, oh yeah, you're good, yeah. Everybody else is like, oh man, forget about it. It's a pain, it could be a pain in the ass. So, but yeah, so always target Hispanics if you're wrapping. But that's servicing companies. So, all right, another question that you get asked all the time is the due on sale clause, right? So if anyone doesn't know a due on sales clause, every single mortgage, for the most part, if you're with a regular mortgage company, will have a clause in there that says if you sell the property to somebody and you transfer the deed, the mortgage has to be paid off, right? So if the mortgage isn't paid off, then we could foreclose on the property and take the property back. That's the due on sale clause. So basically, you're not allowed, in theory, it's not even that you're not allowed, but people think you're not allowed to sell a property and keep the mortgage in place if somebody else owns the property. So what the due on sale clause really says is that if you sell the property to somebody else and you still keep the mortgage open, we are allowed to foreclose if we decide we want to, but it's not like forced to, it's not allowed to, it's just they have that option. So I personally have had at least 200 and something homes that I bought sub 2 over the last 20 some years. I've never had that due on sale called, and Pace has said he's had like 1,000 sub 2s he's bought, and he said he's only had 1 out of 1,000 ever called, and he was able to get on the phone and talk to the bank, and then they're like, oh yeah, don't worry about it, yeah, go ahead. So, and then he says he's actually known out of tens of thousands of sub 2s that he's seen in his life, of other people to have, he's seen maybe 5 called, 1 out of 1,000 he said he's seen called, but he said every single one of those people have been able to talk their way out of it, and the bank, so basically I have had to talk to a bank once before, because the seller that I was buying it from kind of brought it up to the bank. It was before the transaction, and I basically told the bank, look, this guy is 6 months behind on his mortgage right now, right? You're in the business to collect monthly payments. You're in the business to, not to foreclose. Like banks actually, it hurts the bank to foreclose on a property. It looks bad on their books. It looks bad to the government. The government gives you a certain amount of money to lend out based on how much money you have in the bank. And the more bad debt you have, the less money that they give you. So they don't want to foreclose. They're not in the business to own properties, foreclose, and all that stuff. So I got on the phone with the bank, and I'm like, look, this person was over 6 months behind. They're selling me the property. They want too much for it. They owe too much on it. The market went down. I could do good on it because I already have plenty of other properties. This is what I do. I will catch up the mortgage. I'll pay the 6 months, and I'll make sure that that mortgage gets paid every single month on time. And I showed them another dozen properties I had, and I actually had a couple with that bank, and I showed it to them. They saw the history. They're like, fuck it, yeah, we'd much rather you pay the mortgage than this other person that can't pay. So it's not like super hard to talk them out of doing it. But people have this crazy thing that thinking that a due on sale clause is like the bank's gonna foreclose. As soon as they find out, they're gonna foreclose. Now, there's 4 reasons why I've ever seen a due on sale clause get called. And it's always the same 4 reasons. So if you don't do those 4 reasons, then you're pretty much almost never gonna get it called, right? There's always exceptions. But the first reason, the most important reason why it would get called is because you have a lapse in insurance. Like the bank's collateral is the house. So if you don't pay your insurance and your insurance cancels, that is going to be a big red flag. That's the first thing that the bank sees. Like literally the insurance company sends a letter to the mortgage company. By the way, just so you know, there's no insurance on your house anymore, or it's about to be no insurance on this house anymore next week. So, and then the bank will have to usually pay it. But that would be the biggest red flag. So if they see that you didn't pay insurance, they're going to look at potentially who owns the property now, somebody else, what the hell. That would be one of the big triggers. The second biggest trigger would be if you just don't make a payment. Like if you start going behind on payments, like you didn't make a payment, or you're a month behind, 2 months, 3 months. Like if you don't make payments, that's a big trigger. A third trigger would be like just a really small mortgage company, a really small bank. They kind of know everybody in their branch. Like they might have like 1 branch or 2 branches, and they know everybody. They know all their customers. And all of a sudden, they don't see this customer anymore making the payments. They see somebody else. That could trigger it. But usually, you could talk that bank out of it because as long as you're making payments and stuff like that. But that is something a big bank very rarely would ever even care. And then the fourth way that it gets triggered. And this happens too, and we have contracts to avoid this, is that the person you're buying it from is an idiot and calls the bank and says, oh, by the way, I just sold the house and this person owns it, and the mortgage is still in my name, but they own it, I transferred the deed, and you should foreclose on them, or you should whatever. And by the way, who does it hurt if the due on sale clause gets called? Who gets foreclosed on? The person that's on the mortgage. It hurts their credit, not the other person's credit. It hurts the other person because now they have to figure out a way to sell the house or refinance it or whatever, because they're going to get foreclosed on and lose the house, but it doesn't hurt their credit. But why would a seller do that? And this is the reason why. So I have one person that I have a sub to I bought from like a few years ago. It's in Swanee, and this is the type of person that would do it. So I'm really careful with this person. But the reason why is I bought this home, and it's like a $900,000 home in like a really expensive part of Swanee, and I bought it for like $700,000 or $650,000 back a few years ago, and now it's worth $950,000. So I bought it for $300,000 less than what it's worth. When I bought it, it was only worth $700 and some thousand. I still bought it for 90% or whatever it was. But now this is the type of guy that he'll call me and be like, oh, you need to throw me an extra like $5,000 or $2,000, and if you don't do that, I'm gonna like call the bank and fuck you up or something like that, or I'm gonna make sure whatever. So if you get like an asshole person that you buy the home from that wants to basically try to blackmail you, that would be a reason why. But so we have contracts that basically say if somebody does that, they're held liable for like $100,000 in claims or whatever, something really big that will make them want to not do it. And in our contracts, we have them sign like literally initial like 40 different things, and then they write out a paragraph. And because a lot of people will be like, I got tricked into selling this home. I got tricked. That's why I'm going to call the bank, because you tricked me. Like, I didn't know about this stuff. Now, we explain this very well. That's really, really important. Make sure that everybody knows very clearly what you're doing. Don't let anyone not know what you're doing. But on top of all that, on every contract, we make them sign so many different things. And one of the things besides signing and initialing, because people could say, oh, I just initial everything and sign, there's so much shit I didn't know. We make them write out a sentence. And the question on this is why are you selling this home subject to, and how does this benefit you? And they write out, I am selling this because I owe more than it's worth. This person is helping me because I'm about to get foreclosed on, and if I don't sell it, I'm gonna be in worse shape. And I make them write all that shit out. That's like the one thing I make them write out. And then if they ever come back later on and say, I tricked them, well, fuck, you just wrote down that the reason why you sold it to me was because this. Don't you remember? Because every single time someone initials or signs something, they're like, I don't remember that. And I show it to them. But like, they're not even gonna ask you to fucking show it to them if they wrote out a couple of sentences explaining it all, right? So that's part of our contract.
Another approach I do, which is a little bit less aggressive, is I actually review the contract with them on Zoom, recorded, and I give them a copy and I keep a copy. And honestly, one of the ones that I had, they're like, oh man, we could do because you're so personable and we love that you explain things to us. And so like, even that can go into like, try suing me because you said you love that I explained everything. Yeah.
That's really good. I never done that, but that, if you have that, like, like that's it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. So you can do all these types of different things. But so so the next common question that will the next common question, this is probably the next common, like there's like 20 some questions I wrote down here. I'm gonna get maybe one more. I don't know, plus like what else you have going on and stuff, so.
We have about 5 more minutes.
5 minutes? All right, so I'll go one. So I can send everyone, you'll put this in your group anyway. All right, cool. So the next one is gonna be basically the one that's like, look, I'm selling you this home. I know this is gonna stay in my name and on my credit because you made me sign them 5 things and you made me spell out and write it out. So what happens if I wanna go buy another house? My DTI, right, my debt to income ratio is gonna be fucked because it's gonna show I owe $300,000 on this home. I wanna buy another home. How can I buy this other home? So that's probably the next most common question. And the answer to that is, and I've had this happen plenty of times, where once you show that somebody else is making payments on that house, after like 3 months, 75% of that DTI goes away for most mortgage lenders. Now every mortgage lender is a little bit different. Some I've seen wait a year, but almost every mortgage company that I have seen, after 1 year of seeing that somebody else, not the person on the mortgage, is paying the mortgage statements for them, their DTI gets wiped out 100% because they didn't pay for it for a year. Another thing that you can do to help that person is if you were to sign like a lease with that person, especially before, let's say somebody wants to buy the house right away. Somebody wants to buy a home and sell your home and buy that home like the next month, right? So you don't even have that time for it to fall off. What I do, and I just did one actually in Athens, Georgia, like a couple months ago. I signed a lease with the person, and I showed that I'm the tenant, they're the landlord, and I showed like a lease for like $2,500, their mortgage is $1,800, and they showed that to their mortgage company. They're like, look, yes, I still have it in my name, it's still my house, but I'm renting it for $2,500, I'm only paying $1,800, and then they gave them a 75 or 80% reduction on their DTI because it's rented. So you could do that as well. There's a few other things you can do, but just know that, tell people, look, it might take a year for you to be able to buy a house because a lot of that is going to stay with you. But after 3 months, it should mostly go away, depending on what mortgage company you're using. But after a year, almost every mortgage company wipes it away, all the DTI. So that's pretty much the answer for that. There's a million other questions he's going to show you on that. But that's kind of like a little brief, quick creative finance stuff. Like there's a million more things I could dive deep into that we didn't go through yet.
We're gonna have Aria lead some rapid fire questions, and again, close to time, we want to honor the building here today. But Aria, go ahead, man. Ask your questions.
All right, Abraham. So we got some rapid fire submissions here. How old were you when you bought your first house, and how much was it?
Yeah, so 47. I was born in 1975. I started my first business when I was 15 years old. I actually made $1 million and saved $1 million in my bank account by the time I was 19 years old off a business. So I've had tons and tons of businesses. My first property I bought when I was 22, and that property was around $200,000. And when I bought it, it was in Lawrenceville, and that property I actually just sold last year after 20 some years of owning it. But that was my first one, and that's how much I paid. But since I was 22, I've been doing real estate like like consistently all the time. I do a lot more business than even real estate. I have dozens and dozens of businesses all over. I have a couple dozen in Atlanta, entertainment businesses, restaurants, trophy stores, arts and craft studios, axe throwing, escape rooms, all kinds of stuff.
Wow.
Martial art gyms.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, next question is approximately how much net cash flow do you obtain every month from your rentals, if you're comfortable sharing?
Yeah, no, so I actually get a lot of, I probably have, I have partners, so my share is probably about $150,000 a month just from rentals. But I also do a ton of loans. I do a lot of loans, and I probably have another $150,000, $200,000 a month in income just from loans, like interest I get every single month too. And then of course I'm fix and flips. So the last few years, now I have a partner, but on my fix and flips I was doing about 30 a month. My average profit net was like 35,000 a house. So $1 million a month just on fix and flips for the last few years. And then of course businesses, if I get into businesses, a lot of them make anywhere from 10,000 to 40, 50,000 a month, and I have dozens of those. So yeah, a lot of money every month. All passive too. You know, I'm never really working in any of the businesses. Yeah, I do business masterminds. You know, I teach real estate and business, but like a lot of people teach real estate, not many people know and understand business and teach business. So I do a lot of business stuff as well.
Okay, here's a good one. I'm 19, I just started out, I'm a real estate agent, and I have poor credit and not a lot of cash. What would you recommend for me to be successful in real estate?
So he's a real estate agent, so if he is able to get some people to list homes, sell homes, he can make some money on commission. But what I would do is, if I was his agent doing it, I wouldn't do that. I would go out and get into some of these groups, come to some of these events, and partner with people that are doing well, and figure out what you're good at and what you want to learn and who you want to be around and be like, and learn from them, and help them, and then you'll end up making some money helping them, and then you're going to learn a lot and be able to do what they're doing at some point. That's how I got really good at everything. Like all my businesses that I make a ton of money on, I learned that because when I was younger, I followed people that were really good at the businesses that I was interested in doing, and I learned a lot from them. I helped them, and I learned from them, and then I was able to do it my own. Same with real estate. I hung around the right people. I didn't just know creative financing. I had a few people that did some deals with me. I asked them how they did it. I learned. I did some deals with them, and then I started getting better at it, and I do my own. And so you want to be around people that are doing really good in things you want to do good at. Help them. I love helping people. Like literally, building rapport, complimenting people is so important. So a lot of people come over and ask me and ask a lot of people all the time, what can I do to bring value to you? What can I do to bring value for you? Can I help you? What can I do? That's cool to do. It's kind of annoying. Like I know you mean well, but like this is what I do. I will never fucking ask. I've never asked anybody. All the people that I've helped in my life, I've never asked them, what can I do to help you? What can I do to help you? I just figure it fucking out. Like I just like I know what I know what you'll appreciate. I know what you need to do, and I just do it. So if somebody just does something for me, and fuck me, I don't care. You don't need to do nothing. But like when I go out and I help different people and I do stuff for people that benefits them, and they see that I gain nothing out of it, and I'm just helping them, those are the people that will do whatever I want them to do. And that's what I do. So find those people, figure out ways to help them. You can ask them what you can do, but if you're even more creative and even smarter, you just figure it out and do it.
Okay, all right, another good one. What are your current real estate goals?
I think you just said that because I told you to compliment every time. I don't know if that was really good or not. I don't know. Try to figure
it's actually a good one.
Yeah, all right.
What are your current real estate goals, doors, net worth, or units?
Yeah.
I guess what are just your real estate?
Yeah, so my real estate goals. So I don't really have goals as far as like how much I want to make or how, like I'm pretty much really I'm set. Like my goal is just to have fun. Like I like enjoy like going out and negotiating deals. Like you'd be surprised, but like I negotiate a deal that I make 10,000 on. It's just fun. I'm like, oh man, like 10,000 means nothing. Like it doesn't mean anything, but like it's just fun to negotiate a deal and do a deal. So I just want to wake up and have fun, enjoy life every day. Like literally, I don't want to have any stress. So I have a lot of businesses. I enjoy negotiating deals. I enjoy coming up with the ideas, being creative, and then I don't enjoy like running them. So I have a partner that I have that runs them all. He doesn't like being the creative person. He likes running them. So like I would be probably stressed out or not enjoying my life if I had to run them. So I find people that are good at the things, or I hire people that are good at things or the things I don't like doing, and and I stay stress-free. But as far as like how many deals, I want to do as many deals as I can do with still having time to spend with the family, still having time to go to the gym, although I'm fat now. I'm fatter than I've been in a while, but usually I'm in a little better shape. But yeah, literally just I want to enjoy life, and I enjoy doing deals, whether it's real estate deals or business deals. I love negotiating and closing deals. It's just fun. I try not to do anything I don't enjoy. You'll never see me doing something I don't enjoy. Like how much are you paying me to come here and talk?
I don't pay you shit. That's
Yeah, so it's just fun. Like I enjoy this. Like it doesn't matter if you pay me $10,000, $100, whatever. It's just fun. I do it because it's fun. Plus, we're gonna do deals together with other people in here and different things like that. But I just do what I enjoy doing.
Awesome. Let's give it up for Abraham.
all right.
So now, before we get into the
All right, I got one more thing you can give out.
All right, guys. So before we get into the networking part.